Hello UPSC Aspirants, how to face UPSC Civil Service Examination 2024. Are you fully prepared to face UPSC Prelims 2023? Join me on this live interactive webinar. In this webinar, you will know about 20-day strategy to clear UPSC Prelims 2023, how to manage current affairs, the book list required for UPSC Civil Service Examination 2024, etc. Save the date and time, 7th May, 6 to 7 p.m. So why wait? Register now.
Veranda IAS, where your dream becomes reality.
Hello everyone, hope everyone is doing well and good, and a warm welcome to the daily current affair video from Veranda IAS. Today on 5th of May 2023, let us analyze some of the important current affair topic of UPSC importance and let us crack together the civil service examination. Moving on to the first topic. Jaishankar discusses LAC with Quinn, holds talks with Lavrov but not Putin. So what is the news all about? So we can see that the news or the current discussion focuses on the Indo-China foreign ministers' talks on the unresolved 3-year-old military standoff at the line of actual control, or what we call it as the LAC. So what is this LAC? Yes, you said it correct. That is, it is a notional demarcation line or an imaginary line that separates the Indian controlled territory from that of the Chinese in the Sino-Indian border dispute or the Indo-China border dispute. Not only that, we can see that they held a detailed discussion on different bilateral ties and also agreements. And you should understand that this is not the first time, this is second meeting between these ministers, and last was the G20 foreign ministers meeting. And based on this kind of a topic, let us try to completely understand or have a basic understanding with respect to the India-China border issue. So as you might have learned or read up in the history, so we can say that India and China shares a great cultural as well as a rich historical connections for about 2000 years. Let it be the trade routes or the Silk routes or the invasions which happened. So we can see that the cultural and economic ties with China and India is there since 2000 years. But at the same time, we can see there was a lot of border disputes and military conflicts which happened between the India and China. For example, the Sino-Indian War of 1962, the Chola incident in 1967, the 1987 Sino-Indian, and the 2020 India-China skirmish which happened. So everyone might have read about this in the news also recently. So we can see such kind of conflicts are also very, very common, and that is why we are saying that the relation between the India and China was in severe stress condition over the last decade due to multiple border standoff along the line of actual control also. So you might be thinking, what is the root cause? Or we should definitely understand as UPSC aspirant, what is the root cause for all this? The root cause for all this kind of a thing is an ill-defined or unclearly defined 3,440 kilometer long border passing through the states or passing through the borders of the states of Himachal Pradesh, Uttarakhand, Sikkim and Arunachal Pradesh, and also along the Union territories of Ladakh. So here you can see the border. So here this is called as a western sector which is marked in the red, and also you can see the kind of a middle sector which is marked in yellow, and also you can see the kind of an eastern sector that is marked in blue. Let us come to that one by one. First of all, moving to the western sector itself. So you can see that it is between the Union territory of Ladakh and the Xinjiang province of China, covering a distance of 2,152 kilometers with the China. So here the territorial dispute is happening in the western sector over a place called as Aksai. So let us see that Aksai. So here in this map we can see this is a place called as Aksai. So over this place we can see that the territorial disputes is happening between India and China. So what India is saying, India claims it as a part of their Israel Kashmir, while China is saying that it is their part. So this is basically, or in layman's term, this is what is happening, or what is the dispute that is happening over Aksai in the western sector. So what could be the reason? Yes, just like all the root cause of the problems here also, it is the same thing. That is, during the British rule itself, we can see the reason or the root cause of all these issues are going to the British rule itself. That is, during the British rule in India, 2 border lines were proposed. Not one, two border lines were proposed. One was called as a Johnson's line, which was proposed in the year 1865, and then comes the McDonald line of 1893. So here, that Johnson's line, they said that Aksai Chin is coming in Ladakh, and whereas we can see that the McDonald line of 1893, it places it under the China's control also. So India considers the Johnson's line as a rightful national border with China, and China is saying the opposite. But what China is saying? China is saying that yes, Aksai Chin is coming under their property, but India is saying that no, Johnson's line is the one is correct, and the Aksai Chin is actually coming under the all Kashmir territory, whereas China says the opposite, and they believe that McDonald line is the most correct one. So at present, over reaching a consensus, the line of actual control, or LAC, is the line separating the Indian areas of Ladakh from that of the Aksai Chin. As you can see here, this is called as a line of actual control. Here you can see this white border line, that is called as a line of actual control, which currently separates Aksai Chin and that of the Ladakh. So that is the dispute which is happening over the western sector based on the Aksai Chin, based on the, or what is the root cause for the western sector dispute? Mainly the two lines that were proposed during the British time. One was that of the Johnson's line of 1865, McDonald's line of 1893. Both of said different things. One, and India saying that Johnson's line is the most correct one or rightful one, whereas China said that McDonald's line is the correct one. Okay, and now let us proceed towards the middle sector. So we can see that it is much more a peaceful kind of a sector, where it is covering 625 kilometers of border with China. That is an only sector with very less disagreement, and this border runs from Ladakh to Nepal. So let us see that middle sector one. So here you can see the middle sector, right? So here, so we can see that it runs from Ladakh to Nepal also, and the states of Himachal Pradesh and Uttarakhand touch the border with Tibet in this sector. Okay, so it is much more peaceful. Then comes the eastern sector, that blue line marked sector. So India shares a 1,140 kilometer boundary with China, and there we can see an important line, that is McMahon line, that runs from the eastern limit of Bhutan to the point near Talu Pass at the trijunction of Tibet, India and Myanmar. So let us see that once again in that map. So here you can see from that eastern part, the blue line, see from here it is being running towards what? Towards the trijunction of India, China and Myanmar also. Okay, so that is the like boundary of 1,140 kilometers that is coming in the eastern sector. So majority of the territory of Arunachal Pradesh is claimed by China as part of the southern division. So what China is saying, that Arunachal Pradesh, or majority of territory is theirs, and that is the southern part of the Tibet. What India is saying that Aksai Chin part is coming under their role. So this is how an overall kind of a territorial dispute, that is China is claiming an approximately 90,000 kilometers square of India's territory, where India is saying that approximately 38,000 square kilometer of Aksai Chin is theirs. They are saying 90,000 square kilometer of Arunachal Pradesh is theirs, but we are saying that 38,000 square kilometer of Aksai Chin is ours. So this is an overall thing with respect to our dispute or border dispute between India and China considers this McMahon line as illegal line. Okay, so what is this McMahon line? So you should understand that this McMahon line is also an imaginary line that is proposed in the Simla Accord in the year 1914, and to settle the boundary between Tibet and India, at the same time between Tibet and China also. So through the Chinese initiated this kind of an agreement, over discussions we can say subsequently they are also refusing it. Okay, so they are also accepting this as a like a consensual regard. Here you can see the image of McMahon line, that is from the eastern part of Bhutan towards what? Towards the like a tri-junction between India, China and the Myanmar. Okay, so here you can see the areas where the disputes do happen, that is in Ladakh area. You can see that places called as Demchok Trick Heights, Dumchele, Pangongso, Chumar and Spangur Gap, all this kind of disputes or kind of stress do happen between the People's Liberation Army and the Indian Army. And then in the Himachal area you can see Kaurik and Shipkila, and similarly in the Uttarakhand area Barahoti and Pulansunda. Similarly in Arunachal Pradesh Namkachu, Sumdorangchu, Asafila Longchu, Dichu, Yangtze, Fishtail 1 and 2 in Dibang Valley. So such kind of things have been happening, and also we can see that more than 500 aggressions have been found between the armies of India and China over these past years also. Okay, so this is the overall picture of kind of a dispute that is happening between India and China. So what is the way forward? Definitely as UPSC aspirant, we should not be focusing on problems. We will be understanding the root cause, and based on the root cause we should come up with the solutions. So what is the way forward that we can put forth? That is trust deficit. We should do something to reduce the trust deficit between India and China. It is very, very critical with respect to the relations, bilateral relations between India and China. And one of the most effective thing is called as a track to diplomacy. So what is track to diplomacy? These are very important terms that you have to remember. Okay, what is track to diplomacy? That is called as a back channel diplomacy. That is back channel diplomacy, as the name indicates, through the unofficial contacts, through different kind of friendly activities. You can do what? You can achieve many kind of a thing. That is called as the track to diplomacy or the back channel diplomacy. And one such example is that of the BCIM economic corridor. What is this BCIM economic corridor? That is Bangladesh, China, India, Myanmar economic corridor, which had a significant impact on all the countries' economic improvement and transportation. So here also we can see that that was the result of a track to diplomacy which happened between India and China and all other countries, right? So that is very, very critical. Then comprehensive and substantial study of each other's national and social conditions by scholars. That is also very important. So we will be having our own kind of a national conditions with respect to polity, economy, society, and also our social conditions should be studied very well by the Chinese, as well as the Chinese conditions of national and social conditions must be studied by the Indian scholars, and based on that we have to come to a consensus. That only will enhance or strengthen the cooperation between India and China. Ultimately, what we want, we have to strengthen the cooperation between the two major powers. Targeting cultural industry to reduce trade deficit. Okay, what are the cultural industries means? Cultural industry means it will come, tourism will come, then entertainment, then publications. So all these kind of like for example the digital yes, the internet service sector. So such kind of things are called as a cultural industry. So we have to target all this kind of a cultural industry where we can have some common strength together and build a like what is a very strong bilateral ties with strengthening the cooperation between India and China as such. So it is undoubtedly India and China are great powers. There is no like a question about it, right? I hope you also like you guys will be also in consensus with me. So India China should stick to ethics of the Panchashil. So I hope you guys might have heard about Panchashil, right? From the Nehruvian era itself, we had Panchashil. That is the 5 principles of coexistence. We should stick to these ethics of Panchashil and must strengthen the coordination on the international as well as the regional affairs through more regular as well as high level political engagement. So, but just by increasing physical connectivity, just by increasing the economic integration between the countries, both of the countries will become the real power source for the entire subcontinent and will be the leaders in the global world. Okay, yes, with that conclusion, let us proceed towards the next topic, that is CBDC can ease across border payments. CBDC can ease across border payments. What is this CBDC and what is this news about? Let us see one by one. So the central bank digital currency CBDC platforms could bring about a substantive change in the sphere of cross-border payments. Who said? The RBI Deputy Governor T. Ravi Shankar recently said in the news. So he is saying that coordination between the countries is very, very important or significant for enhancing the central bank digital currencies for international transactions. So this kind of a cross-border payments are being in discussions in not only like Indian initiatives but also in all the international organizations, especially that of G20, where India is leading its presidency. So what should be done? If a country is not having a central bank, if a country is not having a central currency, so central bank digital currency or CBDC, what should be there? First of all, they have to create a central bank digital currency, have an idea about it, and create an infrastructure for various CBDCs to interface. So we have a CBDC, central bank digital currency, which was recently launched in 2022 as a pilot currency, and it have to be integrated to any other kind of other countries' central bank. Then only we'll be able to do cross-border payments, right? So such kind of an infrastructures have to be made. So who will be the best example for that? No doubt, India itself. So the India's model of digitization, that is what our RBI Deputy Governor is also saying. The India's model of digitization is a real example in front of the world. The infrastructure that India had been created by the public sector. So such kind of a model, such kind of a successful model have to be or can be followed by different central banks all across the world of different countries to release their central bank digital currency, create the best infrastructure so that we can successfully have the cross-border payments and reduce the challenges posed by the other like illegal kind of tenders like that of cryptocurrencies. Okay, now let us discuss in detail about the central bank digital currency or CBDC. So what is CBDC? It is a digital form of a paper currency that is a legal tender. This is very, very importantly how it becomes how a currency become a legal tender when it is being approved or recognized by the central bank or the government. So here we can see that CBDC is being recognized by the central bank as such and is backed by a central bank, unlike that of the cryptocurrency. So we can see that this idea of digital currency came from cryptocurrency. There is no doubt in it. Okay, the idea came from cryptocurrency, but we can see that cryptocurrency is always not that kind of a legal tender, especially in the countries like that of India. Many countries does accept it, but in India it is not a legal tender. And most important thing is that it is not coming under like what to say, a centralized mechanism, or the cryptocurrency is not coming under a proper regulatory mechanism. That is one of the main reason why India is not accepting it as a legal tender. That is why most of the countries or central banks are coming up with their own digital currencies. So this CBDC can be transacted using wallets backed by blockchain technology. So everyone knows about the blockchain technology, which was in use for the last 1 or 2 years. So based on the blockchain technology, we can see that the CBDC can be used. And what is the main objectives? Let us see one by one. One of the main thing is that to trim or reduce the cost in handling the physical currency, for printing the physical currency, for logistics of this physical currency, for transportation, for insurance of these currencies, for what happens if we not get soiled, we have to replace it with the same amount. So such kind of things. And also we can see that wean people away from cryptocurrencies. We have seen a kind of a trend where everyone is investing their money, legal tender money, into the illegal cryptocurrencies. So such kind of things can be avoided. We can avoid the kind of unaccounted money, hoarding of money that is being done illegally, like tax evasion. So we can do all these kind of things by creating or by using or by promoting this kind of digital currencies by central bank. So is India the first country? No. So we can see that Bahamas is the first economy to come up with their own digital currency called as the sand dollar. Then Nigeria came with e-Naira in 2020. China came up with e-CNY in April 2020. And also we can see the countries like the Korea, Sweden, Jamaica and Ukraine is also doing some kind of testing. So we can, you should understand that China is the world's first major economy. Okay. It's not the first country, first major economy to pilot the digital currency. Okay. Yes. Now let us proceed further and understand what are the challenges that the central banks have to face with respect to the digital currencies. One thing is definitely the privacy concerns. So because like everything have to be properly stored, the data privacy. Then comes the compromise of credentials, because we have to give our username and password for entering or doing some kind of things, right? Or we have to enter our PIN codes. So this kind of credentials compromising might happen. What does this compromisation of credentials mean? That means any kind of an unauthorized, users gaining access to authorized users' credentials for any illegal or nefarious purpose. We can see that the compromise of credentials as such. Then what? Disintermediation of banks. That means there is no limit on the amount that can be stored in the mobile wallets. So what is the main purpose of this CBDCs is being said by the central bank is that right now when we use Google Pay or PhonePe, what is happening? We are giving a request to the banks and the banks will be transacting the amount to the corresponding bank account. So here CBDC is saying that there is no need as such. That means we will be having wallets. So you can store the money in wallets and wallet to wallet transaction will happen without the role of any intermediary. So it will be fast and it will be more efficient. That is what the RBI is saying. So here, what is the concern of the bank is that if there is no limit for the people to store the amount of money in the wallet, means I can even store all my money in the wallet. If I store all my money in the wallet and I'm not depositing anything in the banks, then how is bank working? The banks normally works how? By taking our deposits, and they will be giving the deposits as loan, and based on the interest the banks are working. But here, if everyone starts to put their money in the wallet without any limit, that means there won't be any money in the banks. So this will create a kind of a tussle, especially the weaker banks who does not have any kind of a capital assets with them. They will be struggling for deposits. Then comes the cyber security. There are high risks for hacking and all this kind of issues as such. Then operational burden and cost for central bank in managing CBDC. It is not an easy task. For example, a populous country like that of India, which is the most populated country in the world. So we can see that they must definitely face a lot of struggles with respect to the operation. What is the way forward? We have seen the challenges. Yes, have a brainstorming session. It is already here, but never mind. You should have a brainstorming session yourself without looking at the PPT. Okay. And anyways, let us proceed further with the way forward. Employ the right technology. Set up robust data security system. That is, in order to prevent this kind of a cyber security risk, we have to have the right technology, proper blockchain technology, proper cyber security systems, proper systems for data security. Then carefully think through the regulatory design of sensitive data, because data is very, very sensitive, and we have to have a proper regulatory design on how these regulations or monetary policy policy control that is being done by RBI, how will be done. Okay. Then the close interaction between the banking and data protection regulation. So this kind of regulatory designs and security systems will happen only by close interactions between the central bank and the different banks that is there in a particular country. That is, the different banking institution and the regulatory body or the central bank have to come together, have to sit together and come up with solutions on what we can do for eliminating the challenges on introducing the digital currency as such. Okay, is it clear for everyone? Shall we proceed further? I hope it is clear to everyone, and let us move on to the next topic, that is India-Russia set to suspend talks to settle trade in rupees. So what is this news about? So, India and Russia have suspended efforts to settle bilateral trade in rupees. That is, we can understand that India was trying or was pressurizing Russia to say that let us now trade in the currency of rupees. Generally, all the kind of an international trade do happen in US dollars. Because why? Because of the stability of the US dollars, because of the acceptance of the US dollars across all over the country, because of its stability and the speculation as such. So, India was saying that now it is time for us to trade in in the Indian rupees. So here we can see that India and Russia suspended, so they have stopped any efforts to trade in rupees. So who is going to get affected? A major setback for this is going to have to Indian importers of cheap oil and coal from Russia. We have recently seen a news about laundromat. That means after the Russian-Ukraine war, when the West did sanctions across the Russia, in order to meet their oil requirement, what they are doing, they are purchasing oil and gas from India. So what India is doing, India is purchasing or laundering all the kind of cheap or low demand oil and gas from Russia, and we are refining it and selling it to European countries or to the Western countries as such. So we can see that that was called as laundromat, right? So here all the refineries are going to have a major setback, because we were about to trade in our own currency, that is in rupees. If we have to trade in dollars, means it would be much more expensive with respect to forex reserves as such. And Moscow believes and feels that rupee accumulations is not desirable. So for example, if India is anyways purchasing oil and gas from Russia, in order to have that kind of a bulk purchasing, we should give the Russia, or Moscow should accumulate at least rupees equivalent to $40 billion. So that is a huge amount of money they have to keep themselves in the forex reserve. But they are also saying that it is not desirable. What would be a reason? Rupee is not fully convertible. What do you mean by the rupee is not fully convertible? Means that India's share of global exports of good also is just about 2%. That means out of the total trade happening in the global scenario, or out of the total international trade, only 2% of the trade is being done from India, or the exports is being happening from India. So if they wanted to purchase anything from India by giving the rupees, they can't have much anything, right? So they have to have that $40 billion equivalent money of rupees with themselves, and any other countries is also not that much willing to take up the rupees because of our very less minute share of trade that is happening in a global scenario. That is, only 2% of the international trade is happening from India, or exports. Only 2% of the global exports of the goods and services are happening from India only. So because of that, even though the Russia is accepting the rupees, that much amount will be kept. It will be like over surplus that they have to keep with themselves. Other countries will not be in a position to accept the rupees because we don't have that much exports happening. So they reduce the necessity for other countries to hold rupees. Other countries also do not have the demand for like purchase anything in the like with rupees, because we can see that main reason is the over domination of the the stability of the dollar's asset. So this process of replacing US dollars, this process of replacing US dollars with other currencies is what we call it as a de-dollarization. That is what? That is the replacing dollars and having trade or having international trade with different currencies in various currencies or in our own currency. That is called as de-dollarization. Or we can define it as a process whereby the countries and the different economic actors, they reduce the reliability on the US dollar. They are saying that yes, we are not going to trade in US dollars. Rather, we are using some other kind of a currency. Maybe our own currency we are using for the trade. We are not going to use the US dollars as a reserve currency. We are not going to use the US dollars as a medium of exchange. We are not going to use the US dollars as a unit of account also. So this process is called as de-dollarization, which is also coming in the news. So here we can see that India was pressurizing Russia after the Russia-Ukraine war to have the kind of a trade in rupees, but we can see that they have suspended the talks. So you might be wondering, so like, is India only the country pressurizing for de-dollarization? No. So we can see that even though most trade in the global scenario is happening in the dollars, but we can see that right now some other kind of countries like that of other currencies like that of UAE dirhams, which is also much more stable, and like a lot of exports do happen from dirhams. So we can see that UAE dirhams is also one of the other currencies with which international trade is also being carried out. Okay, so yes, please understand, or please have a basic understanding of what is de-dollarization. I just wanted to introduce the concept of de-dollarization through this topic. Okay, so what was our motto? Less topics and more detailing and more understanding of the basics that you need to read the newspapers. Moving on to the question of the day. Question is, which of the following statements about the central bank digital currency is correct? 1. CBDC is a decentralized digital currency issued and backed by a central bank. Then, the main objective of the CBDC is to replace physical cash in circulation. CBDC can be implemented through a centralized or decentralized system. Okay, so first statement, what do you think? Is that a decentralized digital currency? Right now, in Indian's perspective, we can see that it is not a decentralized digital currency. That is, it is mainly centralized digital currency based on the regulation of a central bank. Okay. Second one, what? It is to replace the physical cash in circulation and to reduce the expenses, trim down the cost of insurance or the soiling of the notes, transportation, logistics, etc. We have to reduce it. Then CBDC can be implemented through a centralized or a decentralized system. That is true. Okay, that means we can have a proper regulatory body to monitor, or we can decentralize it by using other regulatory or institutionalized banks based on the design and objectives of the central bank. That depends on how the central bank is designing the regulatory mechanism. Right now, we are having only a kind of a pilot launch of the CBDC with only 4 banks, which is happening. Anyways, let us proceed further. So the correct answer to this question is only 2 and 3, which is right. So second and third statements are right. Okay, so I hope today's topic was clear to everyone. So unless and until we meet next time, this is Prince J signing off. Learn very well and crack civil service exam with Veranda IAS. Thank you so much.